Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm your host, Faithann. I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for those opportunities from those same people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. Let's dive into episode 15. Episode 15 comes from the article I wrote at thenetworkerstourguide.net, Tour 15, The Joe Rogan Effect. So this is the first time where the episode number and the tour number over at the blog match. They're the same number, 15, The Joe Rogan Effect. In the tour, I write about how Joe Rogan built a new comedy club, and he did everything he could to build the club so that comics would want to be there. So instead of thinking about the comfort of the audience, he thought about the comfort of the comics, because he knew that if he made this club for comics, they would want to play there and they would draw the crowds. So I watched a compilation of comic after comic explaining how different the Mothership is, which is the name of Joe Rogan's comedy club, than other clubs, in that everything was thought of for them. From the stage, from the green room, from the small chair that's just outside. Right before you walk onto the stage, there's a little chair for the comics to sit and gather their thoughts. And these comics have a very high esteem. They hold Joe Rogan in high esteem because he thought of everything for them. So when we network, if we will think of everything for those people who we are around frequently, they're going to hold us in high esteem when we think of everything. Another example is that when I go to Sam's and there are samples, there are trash cans everywhere. Every aisle, at the end of every single aisle, there's a trash can, because Sam's is anticipating this need. There's nothing worse than walking around a store with trash in your hand and not have a place to throw it away. You can't put it on the ground because that's rude. You don't want to put it in your purse because it's probably sticky or messy. So a trash can for Sam's is a very small purchase, but it speaks volumes to the convenience that the customer experiences. So these are small things that we can do when we're networking. They don't require much effort from us, but they speak volumes about the kind of person we are, and they build rapport, and they cause others to look up to us, to want to be around us, to emulate us. Let's go over a few of these things that we can do when we network. So I've broken it down to appointments, conversations, and just general tips. So for your appointments, keep your appointments and always text or email 24 hours before the appointment, checking in to make sure that that appointment is still good for that other person. Or if you have to reschedule, this is a huge thing that I try really hard to do all of the time, and I'm so grateful when people do it with me. When you have to reschedule an appointment, reschedule at the time that you're telling the person that you aren't able to make the appointment. Reschedule it right then. Instead of saying, hey, Bob, something came up. I can't meet you for lunch today after all. Let's get together next week. And you just leave it at that. Now, the onus is on Bob to reschedule this appointment. And if you're the one who is breaking the appointment, it should be on you to reschedule it. So instead, you say, hey, Bob, I'm sorry, something came up. I can't meet you for lunch today. Are you available Friday the 20th at 2 instead? So at the same time that you are saying that you have to break the appointment, you are offering the alternate day and time. Another thing that you can do to think of everything while you're networking is to honor people's time. Don't let an appointment run long without first checking in to see how much time does this person have. If this person has set aside time to meet me either virtually or in person, then at the very beginning of the meeting, we want to say, "Thank you so much for having lunch with me. I'm so excited to get to know you better. Now, I have about an hour. Is that what you have? Or do you need to leave before then?" Or you can say, "I'm so excited. I know that we're going to have so much to talk about. I've set aside about an hour. If we go a little longer, is that going to be okay with you? Or do you need to leave right at such and such time?" So at the beginning, we're kind of gauging what is the other person's time commitment in regards to this meeting. And we want to honor that. You do not want to go past a time somebody has said that they have available for you. It's rude. And then if they're saying, "Oh yeah, whatever, I don't have much, I don't have anything else for the rest of the day," now you both can relax and you can talk and you can go until the conversation naturally ends itself. And you know that there's no problem here because we've already established at the beginning of the meeting people's time commitments. Now, if you have to leave right away, if you're the one that has a hard stop, let them know. That way they can calibrate that. And if there's something they really want to tell you, they know they're going to have to get that out first. Because if you have a hard stop, it's polite to let that person know, "And I have to leave right at 2. So tell me all about yourself. I want to make sure that I get to know you during this meeting," or something to that effect. So think of everything when you are having those appointments and those one-to-one meetings.
Hi, listeners. Are you someone who struggles to make a great first impression when you meet others? Faithann has put together her guide to help you make a great first impression no matter where you are. This quick guide gives you simple tips to leave a powerful first impression, the first step to relationship building. Go grab this free resource today by clicking on the impressions link in the show notes.
Now, on conversations, this one is so much fun for me. Be the tour guide of every conversation you're in if it's more than one person. Often, what happens is that in a three-way conversation, one person will bring something up that you know about, a detail that you know about, but the third person doesn't. Be the tour guide. Be the one who explains that acronym that you know and the person who brought it up knows, but maybe Mary doesn't understand what SOPs are. Maybe she doesn't know. And there's a clever way you can do this. Let's say Frank is talking to me and to Mary, and Frank starts talking about SOPs. You don't want to just look at Mary and say, "Mary, what an SOP is," because that kind of makes her feel silly. But when you reply to Frank, instead of saying SOPs, you say standard operating procedures. So that you're just very elegantly expanding the knowledge without pointing anybody out, without making Frank feel bad for not saying standard operating procedures, and you're not making Mary feel bad for not knowing what those are. But you're this tour guide, you're just this buffering, that kind of buffers the sharp edges of a conversation. I think of like a tunnel or something, and you're just kind of buffering any kind of jerks or hard motions. Or if someone brings up something in a conversation with you and somebody else, and they are speaking explicitly about an event or an experience that only you and that person had, then you can say, "Oh, what he's talking about is last weekend, Frank and I went to this movie, and right before we walked in, there was this person," and et cetera, et cetera. So before you get too into a conversation that that third person doesn't have any context for, you're going to stop and you're going to kind of fill them in so that they can be part of the conversation. There's nothing more frustrating than being a part of a three-way conversation where you don't have any context and you don't understand anything that they're talking about. And what's going to happen, if that happens, is that third person is going to start looking around the room for another conversation to join. And what if that third person is somebody that you could get to know really well and has context that you need? but you've cut it off because you haven't thought to fill that person in a little bit, to make them feel like they're part of the conversation more than they already are. So they don't want to just be a listener with no context. They want to be part of the conversation, even if they're just listening. But if they don't have any context, they're really not part of the conversation. So if I have 3 people that I'm listening to and they're speaking Japanese and I don't understand Japanese, it's not going to be a very fun conversation for me to be part of. I may be physically there listening and hearing what they're saying, but if I'm not understanding, then I'm going to find somebody else to talk to. So be the tour guide of conversations and be listening for ways that you can fill in the gaps, fill in the knowledge gaps for other people. If you sense that there is a knowledge gap, be the person that fills people in. They'll so appreciate you for doing that. And you, as a person in a conversation with 2 other people, if you're about to talk about something that's highly specialized and you know that one person is going to understand everything you're saying, either find something else to talk about or be very aware that you're going to have to give some context to that third person because they will not want to stick around if you don't. Here's another think of everything move. Don't ever let 2 people you know talk to each other in your presence without checking to make sure that they've met or make an introduction. Just be making introductions. Make sure people have seen each other before, at the very least. Let's introduce. Let's make people feel heard and seen and important. Another thing you can do is pass out compliments, like you're passing out cards in a card deck. Pass out compliments. Always compliment. There's something nice you can say about just about everybody that you meet. And it's nice when you do have those 3-way conversations. When you're introducing person A to person B, throw in a compliment. This is my friend Danielle. I've learned everything I know about time management from her. Or this is my friend Bob. Bob has the greatest karaoke machine that I've ever seen. Anything, just whatever is going to be your experience. Notice people's strengths and work to spread that knowledge to the people that you meet. People love it when they receive a compliment, especially when it involves more than one person. So I can compliment Mary and say, Mary, I wouldn't know anything about social media if it weren't for you. Okay, that's a nice compliment. But what if instead, when I introduce Mary to Pat, I say, I wouldn't know anything about social media if it weren't for Mary. Pat, you ought to talk to Mary about your social media. It just adds another layer of rapport building. And let's treat every conversation that we have when we're networking as a gift. Let's treat every conversation as a gift. Be aware, be present, be listening, and be open to whatever that conversation is going to give you at the end of it. And then my final thing about conversations, this comes from Holly Hillier. She has an Instagram account. I heard her on the Sales Maven podcast, and she has a great quote. It says, leave conversations better than you found them. Isn't that wonderful? Leave conversations better than you found them. What you are after is a good feeling immediately following the conversation by all involved. To the degree you contribute effort to produce that good feeling is to the degree you will slowly become the Joe Rogan of your network. You're going to be the person that everybody wants to be around, that knows that when I talk to person A, I'm going to feel good. It's going to be a fun conversation. Okay, and then this is just general things. These are the last 3 tips are just your general being a stand-up guy, being a stand-up gal. When someone asks you to take a picture, use your shirt or a napkin to wipe off the lens of their camera on their phone before you take the picture. It's a small gesture, but it's wow. I mean, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that this picture looks good. Another thing I would say too is, at least when I network, there's a lot of pictures that get taken and posted and tagged. It's very common. Just kind of give a picture a look before you just post automatically every picture that you take at an event. Because if the person doesn't look very flattering, don't post it. Look to take flattering pictures of people if they're speaking or if they're talking, and just give it a quick check. Ask yourself, if this were a picture of me, would I like this being posted before you post it? Carry things in your car or your purse that people might commonly need, like ibuprofen, gum, a pen, a pad of paper. What are some things that people often ask you for or need? If you're the person that, oh yeah, I have that for you, maybe some peppermint oil. I don't know. Just keep things in near you in your car, your purse that maybe you don't need, but you know that others will ask for. And then here's the last thing. Take as much blame as you can without feeling resentful or disingenuous when things go wrong. So as much as you can, reflect when things don't go your way, when things don't go well, reflect and say, is there something I could have done to make this experience better? You don't want to take so much blame that you resent, but is there some stuff that you could do better next time to make it a better experience for people? Be open to be looking at yourself and improving. You don't need to judge yourself, but you can always look back and say, should I have sent that email a little earlier? Should I have given that person a little bit better directions? Maybe that thing I said when I was talking to Tom, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. Should I have been a little bit more inviting? Was that thing that I was thinking about, that stressful thing, did it carry itself into the meeting with me? Is that maybe why people didn't come up to me and talk to me? Did I seem distracted? Did I seem like I was more interested in myself in this one particular area? And it's okay if that happens. Reflect and think about how maybe you could do a little better next time. Well, that'll wrap up episode 15. I do want to say I would love for you to share this episode with a friend, somebody who's just started networking. This would be a great episode to send to them because these are quick, easy things that they can do to make themselves more attractive. And I don't mean that in a physical way. I just mean in a people way, to make themselves a little bit more attractive, to make themselves a little bit more aware, self-aware, and aware of those actions that attract people to them instead of repel them. So go network, my friend. And remember, if you're the Joe Rogan of your network, you're going to build so much rapport, and they're going to want naturally to have good relationships and conversations with you.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basor. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.